And I'm back with more Dual Destinies. Finished talking to Yuri Cosmos, and we ended up proving that Solomon Starbuck was not, in fact, the killer. But in so doing, it was proven that Athena Sykes and her prince were on the lighter. So now she got arrested. And now we begin Episode 5-5. Turnabout for tomorrow. No one can escape their past. The sins we've committed, and the sadness we've caused. No matter how far we run, our past remains, as ever present as the moon in the sky. It looms in wait for the day when we're forced to face it. But only in doing so can we truly make peace and move on in hopes of finding tomorrow. They took Athena from the courtroom straight to the station. She's probably being questioned at this very moment. After this past year, I took it for granted that those two would always be here. But now Apollo's gone off on his own to seek his own truth. And my pursuit of the truth only ended up with Athena becoming the suspect. Some boss I turned out to be. It's quieter in here than usual. Yeah. It seems so empty, too. I just don't get it, Daddy. All of your reasoning during the trial seemed pretty solid. Yeah, I still believe it was. At least, based on what we know. Now Athena's the one who's being accused? During the trial for the bombing and the murder that occurred in the Cosmos Space Center, the lighter used by the real culprit was found. This lighter proved the defendant Solomon Starbuck innocent. But Athena's prints were found on them instead. And she was subsequently arrested for the murder. Athena couldn't have done it. It just doesn't make any sense. None of it does. I've been racking my brain, but I just can't figure it out. Where was the flaw in my reasoning? What have I gotten wrong? You know, Daddy, if Athena were here, she wouldn't just be sitting around thinking. She'd be out there trying to do something. You are going to defend her, right? Of course I will. And thanks, Trucy. I needed that. She's right. Trial's tomorrow. There's no time to waste. I'm gonna prove Athena innocent. I better get out there and find something. Well, off we go then. We're on a hunt for evidence. We're on a hunt for evidence to prove her innocence. Great, but we better tidy stuff up. Athena's probably still in the middle of being questioned. So Trucy's right. The thing to do is start talking with people at the Space Center. Yay! Now Trucy actually gets to do something! Yay. Entrance. Hooray! Let's see, move the boarding lounge, okay. Director Cosmos, do you have a minute?
Collecting scooter, full speed ahead!
Well, that's a nope. He scooted away. His expression changed the instant he saw you. Well, I dragged his name through the mud pretty good. That's a nope. Boarding lounge, let's go. We were here only yesterday. Oh, hey. Mr. Starbuck, you been released, huh? Yup. I came straight here. It's all thanks to you and your team, Mr. Wright. You're giving me a second chance to fly into space again. Can't thank you enough. Except... God damn it. What's wrong? Thought he'd be happier. As I was coming out of the detention center, I saw Miss Sykes. He saw her? I was at a loss for words. I didn't know what to say to her. And you know what? She flashed a peace sign at me. Congratulations on your acquittal. Now you can go back into space someday. That sounds like her. I can just picture it. I saw her eyes. They were red and swollen from crying. She's gotta be suffering. She must be so worried. And yet she went out of her way to be nice and give you that big smile. She held back her own tears so that she could give someone else a smile. That's so Athena. There's no question about it. The girl's innocent. Please, Mr. Wright, you have to make sure she goes free. And then they could put me in prison instead. I don't mind. You can't have that either. Oh, don't worry, Mr. Starbuck. I'm going to give her the very best defense I can. Promise to get her acquitted, just like I did for you. I know she'll be alright with you in her corner. I know you'll never give up on her. Paula's got a fine boss to look up to. I still can't believe Launchpad 1 was switched with the Space Museum, though. What could have made Director Cosmos do such a thing? Oh, whoops. What could have made him do such a thing? Not even the foggiest idea. So there never was going to be a launch that day. Not from the very beginning. I keep hitting buttons. I wonder if Clay knew. I imagine he might have. Surely he must have noticed when you went to board the rocket. It's pathetic to think I was the only one who got taken in. Whoa! But I guess that's about how it goes when you're worth less than space debris. Is he gonna be alright, Daddy? His expressions looks as dark as a black hole. Well, that's just how he is. Mr. Starbuck, do you remember anything about the murderer? Not really. I only saw a shadowy figure in the dark. I guess that was a little too much to ask. Hey, I heard something from the police, though. They said they never did find a 10 caliber gun down the trash chute. Just as I thought. The culprit must have carried it away with him. So was that person you saw holding a gun? Was that the person you saw holding a gun? Couldn't really tell. But it wasn't Athena, right? Could you tell if the person was male or female, tall or short? Can't even tell you that much. Oh man, I'm so useless. When the culprit opened the door and the light came to, I should have been able to see. The door. Oh yeah. As I recall, they opened this door as soon as they made their escape. The door to Launchpad 1, right? Yeah, except now the door leads to the Space Museum. And the Launchpad and the Space Museum were switched? Yeah, they were trying to investigate the theory you came up with. So they're recreating the conditions. I'd like to see what's beyond that door now. Mr. Starbuck, could you open the door? Sure, let me have my print scanned here. Whee! Do the launch pads get switched back and forth a lot? Well, back when the Space Museum was Launchpad 2, they used to switch the pads around at times. But these days, Launchpad 2 is only used as a tourist trap, right? Right. Because, quite frankly, the Space Center needs the money. I hear ya. Times sure are tough. Daddy, let's go check out what's beyond that door. Sure, let's go. Hey, why don't I come along? I can show you around. Cool. Alright, reddish object. Alright. So examine reddish object. Bottom left. Huh? I wonder what these dead leaves are doing here. Maybe they're stuck to the bottom of someone's shoes? There are a lot of trees around the Space Center. She's right. It's a modern, state-of-the-art building, but it's surrounded by trees. I don't know. If they were stuck to the bottom of somebody's shoes, wouldn't they look more crushed up? They don't look like they've been stepped on. Maybe there's some kind of secret hatch in the corridor, and they came in that way? Not everything is set up like a magician's stage, you know. So this is another one of those devices for opening the door. Yup, but this one doesn't require fingerprint verification. Just hit the button and open sesame. So when you and Clay went through here, you didn't need to show your prints either. That's right. Just like how the culprit didn't need to scan for prints when they escaped back out of the Space Museum into Boarding Lounge 1 or 2. Well, I don't see anything else that jumps out at me. I imagine this corridor is built exactly like Launchpad 1. Okay. Whoops.
Uh-oh. Curse the rat, you sullied my good name! Reverse course and full speed away! Wait!
I'll handle this, Daddy. Take that!
Grr! The mobility system's been compromised.
A knife throw was a direct hit in one of the tires. And the streak continues. Maybe I should have kept a closer watch on what tricks she's been practicing.
My dear old battleship. We fought many as skirmishes together. It has been an honor.
Daddy, he's gonna blow that thing up! Well, I bet that button will just make it go haywire again.
Very well. I surrender. As a prisoner of war, I expect to be treated honorably.
Director Cosmos, when you were talking in court about switching the launch pads, you used your right to remain silent as to the reason why.
The center of the cosmos is shrouded in mystery, but I don't have any secrets left. Now that my battleship has been destroyed and I've been taken prisoner.
Crap. No secrets left, huh? I beg to differ. Looks like I've got to undo those cyclocks if I want to get to the bottom of this.
Take that!
I want you to tell me everything you're hiding about the switching of the launch pads.
I refuse! You can't make me! I can hold out longer than anyone.
I hope I never get like this when I'm old. Where to start? This is how you explained your motive for switching the launch pads. You did it to save the astronauts. Thanks to you switching the launch pads, the astronauts escaped injury from the blast. Instead, they safely boarded the museum's rocket far away from the actual explosion.
My astronauts were raring to go out on an authentic adventure in space. How do you propose I had to board a fake rocket without them noticing?
I agree you couldn't have done it without help. For one, they would have figured it out the instant they stepped into the Space Museum. You figured you could fool Mr. Starbuck once he'd been drugged with medication. But without the help of this person, it would have been impossible to pull it off.
Take that!
You must have gotten Mr. Terran to help you. He stole the tranquilizers from the mentor's locker and slipped them to him. And then, with Mr. Starbuck in a daze, they boarded the replica rocket.
Someone please help this poor prisoner of war!
How was he able to spin around? If you really wanted to save the astronauts' lives, shouldn't you have just called off the launch?
If I could have done that, do you think I would have gone to all this trouble?
I guess you must have had a compelling reason. How did you know to switch the launch pads in advance of the bombing it?
Well, that's because... I was warned in advance. Once I received that warning, it was my duty to ensure the astronauts' safety.
It was just a warning. Could have even been a prank. Why did you believe it so completely?
Because I went to one of those mediums everyone was talking about.
Oh, I didn't realize channeling was back in vogue. Besides, I thought it was you yourself that got the warning via telephone.
That's right. The bomber contacted me personally. My battleship is equipped with a special advanced communication system.
AKA a regular telephone.
It's been a while.
Planning another launch? I see you haven't learned.
I'll never forget those terrors when I felt that I received a call.
The bomber said it's been a while? That was enough to make you take the threat seriously? Perhaps he took the threat so seriously because the Space Center had been involved in a bombing once before? Maybe. The culprit in this current case is the same one who was involved in this incident. That one miracle. That epic story of survival. People across the nation know it as a heroic tale of bravery. But in truth, it was an act of sabotage perpetrated by our current killer, wasn't it? Very few know about the previous plot, so when the caller called and said, "It's been a while," you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the danger was real, and it wasn't a prank!
Didn't expect to ever tell you to... Didn't anyone tell you to go easy on an ex-serviceman? Yes, that one miracle was really a desperate battle against an act of sabotage. I even lost the life of one of my staff members in the fight.
Sabotage. Murder, so that's the ugly truth behind the miracle.
I let my guard down. I thought the saboteur had been caught and that the case was closed.
Wait a minute. The murder at the Space Center 7 years ago? This must be the person Director Cosmos thought was the culprit.
Take that!
Simon Blackwell. Murder suspect in a case that happened 7 years ago. Police in time of the two incidents, the murder and the sabotage, were the same. So you thought he committed both crimes. But while Prosecutor Blackwell was behind bars, you got another threatening call. If the culprit this time is the same as 7 years ago, it's not Simon Blackwell. Realizing that, you were shaken. It meant the true culprit's been running free this whole time.
How do you keep seeing straight through me?
Yay. Reason why Director Cosmos won't talk about why he switched the launch pads is connected to the truth behind the Hat One miracle. Sabotage and the murder that happened in the Space Center 7 years ago. Director, tell me what you're hiding.
If you really want to understand the reason why I decided to switch the launch pads, we'll have to start with the story of that horrible nightmare from 7 years ago.
You mean that so-called Hat One miracle?
The launch went smoothly, but once the ship entered outer space, the troubles began. It was all the handiwork of a certain person and their evil scheme.
So Mr. Starbuck's traumatic experience wasn't accidental.
Not only that, but before the launch, a very valuable piece of moon rock was stolen. But that wasn't the worst of it. One of my staff members was murdered.
Wow, I had no such idea. No idea such awful events were behind that exciting story of heroism.
After all that, in spite of the Space Center having very strict security, all personal effects were examined thoroughly, coming or going. Couldn't even smuggle a wheel that don't leave through those checkpoints.
That was a weird turn of phrase there. So do you have any idea who was responsible for the sabotage?
At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackwell. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but it's clear what the person is. To put it simply, a spy.
A spy? You mean someone who infiltrates a foreign country? Carries out dangerous missions? And always gets the girl? Someone's watching way too many late-night movies. Well, I guess if we're talking about blowing up a rocket and stealing research material, it's not all that surprising a spy could be behind it all.
Make no mistake, there's cutthroat rivalry between nations in the space R&D race. Some try to outdo each other by any means possible, even deliberate obstruction. 7 years ago, we got a call before the launch warning us of sabotage.
Same as MO as last time.
Yes, and here I thought the perpetrator had been caught, but it looks like I was wrong.
Prosecutor Blackwell seems more than a ninja than a spy, don't you think? Aren't ninjas and spies pretty much the same thing? Actually, in some ways they are.
But there's a good reason we failed to find the real spy. A massive cover-up by the government. Government officials were too embarrassed to admit that they'd allowed such a thing to happen at the hands of a spy.
Don't tell me made the police rush the investigation.
They did indeed. And then, to cover up the sabotage, they cleaned up the story.
And that was the Hat One miracle, wasn't it? But then 7 years ago, or 7 years later, the same MO, advance warning of sabotage, must have been the director's reason for switching the launch pads. 7 years ago, the spy gave you advance warning of their plans, just like this time. That's what made you decide to switch the launch pads, wasn't it?
That's right. The coroner knew the facts of the case, despite the cover-up. They knew about the sabotage, the moon rock, the murder, and they said,
"You don't want things to go like they did 7 years ago, do you?"
I immediately thought of calling off the launch, but the government wouldn't let me. We don't give in to the likes of terrorists. We must proceed for the country's honor. It was quite a moving speech, actually.
Moving? Really? Maybe if you're easily inspired by political talking points.
But I knew the truth. We had been warned, which meant that the danger was very real. And I knew there was no way to stop the spy. No matter what I did, he would find a way. That's why I switched the launch pads and staged the moving rescue scene. First, I snuck into the center the night before and switched the launch pads. That way, the astronauts would go to boarding lounge 1 to the Space Museum. Then I put a closed for repair sign on launch pad 1 into boarding lounge 2.
You did that to normal visitors, wouldn't it, right? What else did you do?
I enlisted the help of several staff members, including Terran.
But you didn't let Mr. Starbuck in on it?
He'd already been through enough, and he was no good at lying to keep a secret. I'm afraid I had no choice but have him drugged. My plan went well until...
Please, murder, huh?
After the culprit made their escape, I switched the launch pads back. I did it in such a way that no one would find out, but after all that effort, Terran is dead and Hat 2 was destroyed. And the Hope capsule, which had been returned only recently, was also lost in the blast. My home, the center of the cosmos, my beautiful cosmos space center is done for!
What do you mean by the Hope capsule was lost? I thought that the Hope capsule was found at the crime scene. It had just been brought back by the Hope space probe.
The capsule was being held in a safe in Launchpad 1, but I gave it to Terran before the incident so it wouldn't be destroyed in the explosion. The idea was that with it safely in Terran's possession, he could make it look like he rescued it during the staged miraculous escape. But our precious research materials ended up lost at that explosion anyway.
I thought Clay was supposed to keep it safe.
You misunderstand. The launchpad explosion wasn't the one the capsule was lost to. It was lost after the police confiscated it as evidence. It was the courtroom bombing from the other day. The capsule was there in the courtroom as evidence and was blown to smithereens.
Yet another casualty of the blast.
Ultimately, I think the culprit may have known about the switching of the launch pads.
How?
The police found a wiretapping device during their investigation. A bug aboard my battleship, a tap on my advanced communication system.
A wire on the phone?
Yes, a wire on this very phone. I used the phone to give instructions to my staff about the launchpad switch. Just to a few select members who knew about the plan. Just before the incident, staff members were coming in and out of Launchpad 1. The culprit might probably slipped in with them amid the confusion and planted the bomb then.
If they were wiretapping your phone, they definitely could pull something like that off. So you really think the same spies behind the incident and this incident and the one 7 years ago?
Yes, I'm sure of it.
Then the spy must be that phantom that Prosecutor Blackwell's chasing. So if we can find this phantom...
That's right. We can clear Athena's name.
And then there's that matter of Prosecutor Blackwell, too. What about him? Well, if the culprit from 7 years ago and the same person are involved in the incident, it would mean that Prosecutor Blackwell's innocent. It's still an if, though. I wonder how dangerous that guy would be in court without handcuffs. But if we're gonna go on a ghost hunt, count me in!
Spin! Well, and done for! The center of the cosmos is doomed!
Do you think he's gonna be alright, Daddy? Well, at least he'll be in good company. Must be planets out there he can spin with. Which reminds me, I need to delve a little deeper into the Hat 1 mission, too.
If you'd like to learn more, start at the Space Museum! There's a Hat 1 exhibit there! Don't mind me, I'll just keep spinning here and see how the cosmos unfolds!
It's like he's achieved spiritual enlightenment or something. sure he'll stop when he gets dizzy. Let's head to the Space Museum. And yes, let's just leave it at that. It's too good. So, there we go. Get off that screen because it was giving me dizziness. Hooray! That's one more episode done. So let's go to the Space Museum in the next one. Thanks for watching.